WWE Raw on Netflix, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes and the Fatu vs CM Punk, The Rock and the Usos. 06/Feb/2026. What just happened on WWE Raw is going to break the internet and possibly break WWE itself. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu just teamed up against CM Punk, The Rock, and the Usos in the most insane six-man tag match in wrestling history, and the betrayals, the chaos, and the shocking finish have left the wrestling world in absolute meltdown. But here's what's going to make you furious: this entire match was a setup orchestrated by people we thought we could trust, and the aftermath reveals that Wrestlemania 42 is going to be nothing like what WWE has been advertising for months. Because what you saw on Netflix wasn't just a match, it was a public execution of storylines, friendships, and alliances that fans have invested years into. And the person who orchestrated this chaos? They revealed themselves in the final 60 seconds in a moment so shocking that even the commentary team went completely silent for 10 full seconds. Let me set the stage for the most chaotic episode of WWE Raw in Netflix history. February 6, 2026. The build to WrestleMania 42 is in full swing, and WWE advertised this six-man tag as the ultimate collision of egos, legacies, and unfinished business. On one side, Roman Reigns, the former tribal chief trying to reclaim his empire. Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion fighting to prove his reign is legitimate. And Jacob Fatu, the monster who's been destroying everyone in his path since arriving on the main roster. On the other side, CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless who's been calling out WWE's corruption for months. The Rock, returning to team with family one more time before WrestleMania. And the Usos, G and Jimmy, caught between their blood family and their professional survival. The tension before the bell even rang was nuclear. Because these aren't just six wrestlers thrown together, these are six people with deep, complicated histories that create the most volatile chemistry imaginable. The match started exactly how you'd expect: chaos. Roman and Rock immediately started jawing at each other, reliving decades of family tension and professional rivalry. Cody and Punk were throwing verbal bombs about who's the real locker room leader. The Usos looked conflicted, clearly uncomfortable being positioned against Roman and Jacob Fatu, their actual family. But here's where things got weird. About 8 minutes into the match, after a series of rapid tags and high-impact sequences, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, two people who have been at war for over a year, started showing cooperation. Not reluctant teamwork. Actual strategic cooperation, like they'd planned this. Roman would soften up CM Punk with strikes, then tag Cody, who would immediately go for a crossroads attempt. Cody would have The Rock in a figure four, and Roman would prevent the Usos from breaking it up. Jacob Fatu was destroying everyone, but Roman and Cody were directing his chaos like they were coordinating. The commentary team tried to explain it as enemies united against common threats, but anyone paying attention could see something deeper was happening. These three weren't just temporarily aligned, they were working together like they'd been training together. Then came the first betrayal that sent the crowd into shock. The Usos had CM Punk isolated in the corner, setting up for a double superkick, when suddenly Jimmy Uso stopped. He looked at G, shook his head, and walked out of the match. Just left. Abandoned his team, abandoned Punk and Rock, and walked straight up the ramp without explanation. G looked devastated. You could see the conflict on his face: follow his brother or stay loyal to his team. And in that moment of hesitation, Jacob Fatu destroyed him with a superkick that looked like it legitimately knocked G unconscious. The medical team had to come out and help G to the back, leaving CM Punk and The Rock in a 3-on-2 disadvantage. But it gets worse. As G was being helped backstage, the camera caught Jimmy Uso standing at the top of the ramp with his arms crossed, watching his brother get carried away, showing zero emotion. That's not storyline tension, that's real family dysfunction playing out on international television. With the Usos gone, CM Punk and The Rock tried to battle back against the numbers game. Punk was fighting with everything he had, throwing strikes at Roman, countering Cody's moves, even managing to dump Jacob Fatu over the top rope. The crowd was electric, chanting CM Punk so loud it was shaking the building. Then The Rock tagged himself in, forcefully slapping Punk's shoulder while Punk was mid-sequence. Punk looked confused and frustrated, but stepped out to the apron. The Rock stared down Roman Reigns, and the crowd went nuclear, expecting the family confrontation we've been waiting for. The Rock and Roman circled each other, and you could feel decades of tension in that ring. The People's Champion versus the Tribal Chief. The past versus the present. And then The Rock did something that made the entire arena gasp. He hit CM Punk with a rock bottom. Not Roman. Not Cody. Not Jacob Fatu. He turned around and destroyed his own partner with a rock bottom so devastating that Punk didn't move for 30 seconds. The crowd's reaction was split between shock and fury. Some were booing The Rock with intensity we haven't heard since his Hollywood heel days. Others were completely silent, trying to process what they'd just witnessed. The Rock then did the unthinkable. He stood over CM Punk's body, looked directly at Roman Reigns, and extended his hand. Roman stared at that hand for what felt like an eternity. The crowd was screaming, half begging Roman not to take it, half demanding he shake his cousin's hand and reform the family alliance. Roman looked at Cody. Cody nodded. Then Roman clasped The Rock's hand, and the two of them embraced in the center of the ring while the wrestling world absolutely melted down. This wasn't a temporary alliance, this was The Rock officially joining forces with Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu in what appears to be the most powerful faction in WWE history. But the nightmare wasn't over for CM Punk. All four men, Roman, Rock, Cody, and Jacob Fatu, proceeded to destroy Punk in a coordinated assault that was genuinely difficult to watch. Superman punches, cross Rhodes, rock bottoms, and devastating strikes from Fatu. They beat Punk so badly that the referee threw the match out, calling for the bell, but they didn't stop. Security flooded the ring, and the four-man alliance fought through security like they were nothing. It took 17 people, referees, agents, and wrestlers from the back to finally separate them from CM Punk's motionless body. As medical personnel attended to CM Punk, The Rock grabbed a microphone. And what he said next is going to rewrite WrestleMania 42 and possibly the next year of WWE programming. You people wanted to know why The Rock came back? You wanted to know what finally brought the Great One back to WWE full-time? It wasn't nostalgia. It wasn't one more run. It was family. It was watching Roman Reigns get disrespected by people like CM Punk who think they're bigger than this business. It was watching Cody Rhodes, a man who earned his championship, getting questioned and undermined every single week. It was watching Jacob Fatu get treated like a monster instead of the prodigy he actually is. The Rock continued, so Roman called me, Cody called me, and we made a decision. We decided that WrestleMania 42 isn't going to be about dream matches or feel-good moments. It's going to be about power. About the foremost dominant forces in wrestling history joining together to remind everyone who actually runs this industry. The crowd was booing so loudly that Rock had to pause multiple times. But he just smiled that arrogant Rock smile and kept going. And CM Punk? Punk represents everything wrong with modern wrestling. The complaining, the entitlement, the belief that shooting on the microphone makes you real. So we made an example of him. And at WrestleMania 42, this alliance, the Bloodline 2.0, the Final Dynasty, whatever you want to call us, we're taking every major championship, every main event spot, and there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. Backstage reports from Netflix's production team are absolutely insane. The locker room is in complete chaos. Wrestlers are choosing sides, forming counter-alliances, and the political landscape of WWE has completely shifted in a single night. Seth Rollins reportedly smashed a monitor when he saw The Rock betray CM Punk. He's been Punk's ally in the fight against WWE's old guard, and seeing Rock, someone Seth once looked up to, join forces with Roman and Cody, has Seth organizing a resistance movement in the locker room. Drew McIntyre, Gunther, Damian Priest, and several others are allegedly meeting in emergency sessions trying to figure out how to combat this four-man alliance. Because let's be honest, individually, Roman, Rock, Cody, and Jacob Fatu are dominant. Together, they're virtually unstoppable. But here's the terrifying part, sources say this alliance has been in the works for months. That every conflict between Roman and Cody over the past year was staged to make their eventual partnership more shocking. That The Rock's sporadic appearances were him scouting and planning. That Jacob Fatu's destruction of the roster was preparing him for this exact role. WWE's creative team allegedly didn't know about this until 2 weeks ago. This was orchestrated by the wrestlers themselves, Roman, Rock, and Cody, using their political power and creative control clauses to force WWE into approving this storyline. Vince McMahon may be gone, but the politicking and backstage power plays are alive and well. CM Punk was legitimately injured in the assault. Not career-ending, but he suffered bruised ribs, a potential concussion, and what medical staff are calling severe physical trauma. He's currently undergoing evaluation and may miss several weeks of television. But before being taken to the hospital, Punk reportedly told producers, "This isn't over. They wanted a war? They're going to get a war. And I'm going to burn their entire alliance to the ground even if it ends my career." That's not storyline bravado, that's real anger from someone who feels genuinely betrayed by The Rock, someone he considered a pioneer of speaking truth to power in WWE. Punk idolized The Rock's ability to transcend wrestling and maintain authenticity. Seeing Rock join forces with everything Punk has been fighting against? That's personal. Now, we still don't have clarity on why Jimmy Uso walked out on his team, but sources close to the family say that Jimmy was allegedly approached by Roman weeks ago and told that if he wanted to remain in the family's good graces, he needed to sabotage The Rock and Punk's team when the moment was right. But watching G get destroyed by Jacob Fatu, watching his twin brother get carried out injured, apparently broke something in Jimmy. He couldn't go through with the full plan. He couldn't actively participate in the betrayal even though he'd agreed to it. So now Jimmy is stuck in the worst possible position. He betrayed his team but didn't fully commit to Roman's plan. He's lost the trust of both sides and is essentially alone in WWE's current landscape. His twin brother G is injured and probably furious. The Rock likely views him as unreliable. And Roman? Roman doesn't tolerate half measures or failed missions. The USO family dynamic, already complicated by years of bloodline storytelling, just became exponentially more toxic. And the saddest part? These are real family members dealing with real betrayal wrapped in a wrestling storyline that's become too real to separate fiction from reality. WrestleMania 42 just got completely rewritten. Every match that WWE had been building toward is now in question. Is Cody Rhodes defending his championship in a traditional match, or is the final dynasty going to dominate every title match on the card? Is The Rock wrestling, or is he managing and strategizing while his alliance competes? And most importantly, who can possibly stand up to Roman Reigns, The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu working as a coordinated unit? You'd need an alliance of equal star power and ability, but WWE doesn't have 4 wrestlers who can match that level collectively. Seth Rollins is a main eventer, but he's been booked inconsistently. Drew McIntyre is credible, but he's always positioned just below the absolute top. Gunther is dominant, but he's still relatively new to the main event scene. CM Punk is now injured and out of action for weeks. WWE has created a scenario where their top heels are so overpowered that there's no believable babyface counter. And that's either brilliant long-term storytelling or a catastrophic booking decision that will make WrestleMania feel predetermined and hopeless. WWE Raw on Netflix just delivered the most shocking episode in modern wrestling history. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu teaming with The Rock against CM Punk, the Usos, and any hope of competitive balance in WWE. The betrayals were devastating. The beatdown was brutal. And the implications for WrestleMania 42 are absolutely terrifying. This wasn't just a 6-man tag match, it was a declaration of war. The Final Dynasty, Bloodline 2.0, or whatever they're calling themselves, has positioned themselves as unstoppable, and the entire WWE locker room is scrambling to figure out how to fight back against the 4 most powerful wrestlers in the industry working as a single unit. What's your take? Is this the greatest faction in WWE history, or an overpowered booking nightmare? Can CM Punk recover and lead a resistance, or is the Final Dynasty going to dominate WWE for the next year? Should The Rock be celebrated for this heel turn or condemned for betraying everything his character once stood for? Destroy that comment section, because wrestling fans are divided like never before. Smash the like button if this breakdown gave you insights nobody else is covering. Subscribe to Wrestling News CC, because this story is evolving by the hour. Tomorrow's SmackDown is going to have massive fallout from tonight's chaos. The alliance has been formed, but the real war for WWE's soul is just beginning.